It's time that we have an honest conversation about AI and writing. In this video, I'm going to share where I believe AI belongs within the writing and publishing world, and where I think human creativity, lived experience, and our craft still matter the most. Hi, I'm Charlotte Chipperfield. I'm a book coach and developmental editor, and I work with both fiction and nonfiction writers. So this isn't a theoretical take. It's an actual set of rules that I use, both with the authors I work with, but also within my own work and writing. So here's what we'll cover. We're going to talk about where AI can genuinely help authors and also where that help stops being helpful. I'm also going to talk about the lines of where we can actually write a book, where we can edit with emotional truth and really develop our craft in the context of AI. We're going to talk about the difference of using an AI tool versus letting it write for you. And then as a developmental editor and book coach who's helped over 700 authors take their ideas and put them into manuscripts, we're really going to talk about how AI can support us even beyond the writing process. So if you are a nonfiction or fiction writer trying to figure out what in the world is going on with AI, why is there so much commotion around when and how you can't use it, especially in the context of writing, I'm going to talk about how AI fits into my own process, and I hope that gives you more of a guideline and framework to think about using within your own world. This is not just my opinion, this is how I am approaching this. So AI is here to stay, and as an elder millennial, I have lived through the rollout of so many different technologies, and what I do know is that once that technology is in the hands of the users, we can't go backwards. And so what I've noticed within the publishing world is there is a stark black and white, don't use it, you use it, you're not a writer. And I think what we need to do is have more of a nuanced conversation. And I would love to see a committee across traditional publishing, hybrid, self-publishing, that is helping to set some of the guidelines for what this really looks like within the world of writing and publishing. It is very complicated, and we have seen the myriad of lawsuits that have come out because so many of these models were built on stolen work, which I do not agree with and wish there would have been more ethical build of these products. But what I do know is that it is here. And so we can't sit here and just point fingers and blame each other and say, you're not a real writer, you're doing this, you can't use it here, like you touched the tool, therefore we don't trust you. So what I would love to see is a more nuanced conversation, and I hope that's what we do in this video, is to provide stricter guidelines about when and where we can use it, especially as writers. So the history of these models is that they were very much so built off of stolen work. So they have stolen words from movies, from books, from stories, all of the things. And so that is where the content that is produced by AI is not original content. This is where we infringe on copyright. And that is the biggest thing. If you are using AI to write a book, you cannot copyright it. Again, I'm not sure how much the government is cracking down on that. And I think that's also a point of regulation that needs to come into play. But you cannot put your content, even if it's your own words, into AI, have it reshape it, pull it out, and then copyright it. You cannot tell it to write something for you and then copyright it. So that is one of the biggest things with AI and with writing, is that you are infringing on copyright, and then you are also not able to copyright what comes out of AI. So the same is true if you are inputting your own content into AI. It is now using that language to be training itself and then reproducing it for other people. And we don't want your work being reproduced for other people. This is your original idea. So let's talk about when not to use AI, and then I'm going to talk about when we can use AI, because again, I want to have more of a nuanced conversation that's really inviting us to set some guidelines and parameters within how we're going to be using these tools moving forward. So when we are not using AI, we do not want to use AI to outline. You can ask questions and use these tools to understand how to approach an outline. You can use it to kind of probe questions to get you thinking about how to approach an outline for a book. But what we don't want to be doing is saying, I have this idea, now outline it for me, and then taking that outline verbatim and just starting to write off of that. Again, we want to make sure that your content is very original. So don't use AI to outline, but you can use it to help brainstorm ideas or think about how do you approach creating an outline for a book. Second, when it comes to writing, don't use AI. When you are putting words onto the page, we are not using AI. And I know it is so frustrating when you're like, I just know what's in my head. I'm trying to shape this sentence. I just can't get it out. Help me. I've been there. I totally understand. But that is the power of the writing process. That is actually a moment of growth that you are experiencing in trying to learn and expand in the craft of writing. So when it comes to actually writing your book and putting words on the page, we are not using AI. We are not extracting one sample sentence. We are not putting our writing into AI. This is a hard line because, again, we're infringing on copyright, both of other people's work and also on our own. I will also say, as a developmental editor who looks at the structure of books, I have seen so many manuscripts come across my desk that have had an AI touch on them. And I can tell immediately because I see so many of them. And this has shown up primarily in nonfiction because, again, it's really easy for us to be building frameworks, or if we're writing a book to support our business and our consulting, it's really easy just to be like, I have all these ideas, put it into AI, and just it comes out and you're like, oh, this sounds great. The problem with that is that while it produces words on the page, it lacks meaning. I have gotten into manuscripts where I am like, I don't understand what this means. And while AI is really good at writing a couple sentences, it is not good at carrying the nuance of those sentences through an entire book. It has not gotten to the point, and it might in the future, and even then, we still don't want to be using it for this purpose. But for it to create depth and meaning and to build on the content that's come before it and to create a reader journey that is powerful and transformational, it can't do it. And so that's why sometimes sentences sound really great, and then you're like, okay, if a bunch of those sentences sound great, the whole book must be great. And I have to tell you, when I have had to work on a couple manuscripts that I didn't realize had come through AI, I have to sit there and trying to extract meaning before I can actually do my job. And so that is not great. And we're not doing that. So what's actually easier to work with, especially as a developmental editor, is I can see and understand when you just mind dump words onto a page. I actually can see the meaning and what you're trying to go for, and then I can help you structure it. But if there's no meaning, there can't be structure to meaningless content. So that's where I think a lot of authors get really nervous and scared, being like, I don't know if this is working. I don't feel like it's good enough. It's just like there. And it's like, that's fine. We have something to work with because I can see what you're trying to aim for. I can understand it, and now we're just going to hone it in. And the last thing I'll say about not using AI to write is that you are robbing yourself of the experience of being a writer. And so if you find yourself just entering words into AI, then maybe writing isn't actually something that you want to do. There is such a powerful unfolding of understanding who you are as a human as you write a book. You get to be pushed and grow in ways that you didn't even expect or understand. You also get to develop a deeper relationship with yourself in this process. So again, don't rob yourself of this. This is an incredibly powerful transformational journey. And when we are leaning on tools that are, again, stripping meaning out of our words, trying to create shortcuts, like nothing good ever comes from that, and nothing of quality that's going to help many people transform and read your story and be entertained. None of that is going to be achieved. Okay, that's enough on the writing. Also say we are not using AI to edit. So again, for a lot of the same reasons I mentioned before when it comes to writing, editing, it might be great at a sentence. It's not going to be able to carry that nuance across an entire book. If you have foreshadowing in chapter 1, it's not going to call back to it at the appropriate times. Again, it's a copyright infringement. I have also noticed that a lot of when AI tools, when they're editing, every other sentence starts with the word and or but. They're super choppy. There's so much into this that it's very obvious. I've even seen books that have the same frameworks coming through, using the same language to describe leadership, for example. So again, it is very limited, and it is thinking about what's the easiest path to get you content. And again, for the same reasons of writing, we should not use this to edit either. This is where you can lean on the professionals like myself and many, many other editors who are highly trained and experienced in this, because we are also understanding the nuances between AI, but also all the nuances that go into a book. Okay, the last place I would say to not use AI when it comes to the writing process is if you are creating your book blurb, so that back cover paragraph, and your proposal packages. So if you are putting together a proposal to go to traditional publishing, to get an agent, they are seeing hundreds and hundreds of these a week, and they all start to look and sound the same. I think because we have a one-to-one relationship with these AI tools, we're not seeing it at scale. And when we see what's produced from AI at scale, it all looks and sounds the same. So again, you want to be standing out and not just kind of being put into the same pool as everyone else, because I know you have a very powerful story to tell, and I know that you want the story to be seen and heard in the world. So again, let's not use AI for writing our book blurbs or book proposals. Okay, so let's now talk about where we can use AI, because I think this is the conversation that's missing within the writing and publishing world. So like I said, we're not using it in the creative process, but I do think it can be so supportive in other areas. So one of them, I think it's great to use for writing prompts. So if you are having a day where you're like, I just can't get into writing, I don't want to work on my manuscript because I'm feeling stuck in this place right now, you can go to AI and say like, hey, create writing prompts for this genre, or create writing prompts that are just like something fun to write about. So that can be a really great way just to get some inspiration, see what it produces, and see what you can write as a result. So you're not necessarily putting words into AI, you're not creating words from AI, but you're using it to get you inspired and get your brain kind of turned on into writing mode. I think another great use of AI, specifically if you are writing memoir, and this might be the same if you're writing nonfiction, is to have it ask you questions. So use it as if they are interviewing you about your life so that you can extract some of the stories and the meaning behind those stories that you're trying to get on the page. Again, you're not going to enter those answers into AI, but it's going to serve as this sort of external person that's interviewing you to just kind of help extract the stories and the meaning that you want to pull forward. So I think that's another great way to prompt it to ask you some questions about your life, just to get the juices and inspiration flowing. So those are the cases around maybe the writing process that I'd say it's okay to use AI. And where I think AI really shines for authors is when you move into the business of writing. So what happens when you become an author is that you now essentially have a product. A book is a product, and you are the business and the brand around that book. Regardless if you go traditional publishing or self-publishing, you are the brand around that book, and the book is a product. And so where AI, I'm seeing it shine, is supporting entrepreneurs. And when you frame yourself as an author, as an entrepreneur, that's where I think we can create some really powerful things and use AI to support us in this process. So one of the ways I've seen some people do this, and I will say in my years of using Google search, I have noticed it's gone incredibly downhill in the last few years, and I know I'm not alone in that. And so I do think AI has become a powerful research tool. So you might use it to research things like literary magazines and which ones are accepting submissions. So if you're writing short stories and want to get out into the world, I think it's a great place to do some research to be like, hey, put a list together of like the 10 literary magazines that match this genre and that are also accepting submissions. Like that cuts down our time of trying to weed through Google, putting the right words in, not sure if we landed in the right place. So that's an example of where I think AI can be really, really helpful for us, because that amount of research takes forever and can be a little bit discouraging when we just want to be writing. So I think that's a great use of AI for research. I think AI can be great for thinking about marketing ideas for your book, or creating examples and showing you what other people are doing to promote their book. I think it can be a great place to brainstorm and create ideas around content if you're producing content on social media or have an email list. Again, we don't want it creating the content for us, but using it as a way to brainstorm just to get your creative juices flowing so that you don't feel like you're creating from a void of like, I have no idea what to do next. It can help give you some ideas, it can give you some examples, and then it's for you to kind of take it and shape it and be like, okay, this is what I'm going to do because this serves me best. I think AI can be great for also organizing project plans. So if you are creating your book launch, it's great to give you ideas of like, what does a traditional book launch look like? What do I need to be paying attention to? Create a checklist so that I can create a launch party. And I make sure that I'm also online and I've got the store open. It's all in Amazon at the right time. Like you can create a project checklist around that using AI that can be incredibly helpful as well. I think managing admin tasks as well, if you want to have certain emails that you're sending out, like customer service emails, not your marketing emails, but kind of customer service emails or responses to people, if that is right, depending on kind of the volume that you are seeing. I think you can also use AI to summarize meeting notes when you are talking to people, or if you're connecting with people to do press or media. I think that can also be a great place to use it. It's a great place to maybe create templates to track your finances and how are you going to track your book sales. I think AI can also be really helpful once you are kind of in the book launch mode, when you're in marketing. It can help then analyze some of your data and see trends. So like, where are people coming from that are buying your book? If you're running Facebook ads or any kind of advertisement, it can look at that data and be like, hey, let's make these adjustments so that you can maximize your budget. So again, that can be a really great partner, and it gives you another set of eyes and can analyze those data sets, which I know a lot of writers, when we hear data, we want to run in the opposite direction. But this is where it can be really helpful, but we don't have to sit there and necessarily decipher and question and not understand. It can give us an answer and we can make those adjustments quickly so then we can go back to our writing. So those are some use cases of where I think AI can be really helpful for us as writers. So it's kind of prompting some ideas, getting some creativity flowing by asking us questions. And then on the business and marketing side, I think it can be incredibly helpful for creating project checklists, book launch plans, timelines, content calendars, and thinking about what kind of content we want to create. Again, we're not using AI to create that content, but more of like helping us create a schedule that we are going to create the content for. And of course, if you're doing any data analysis, so traffic to your website, Facebook ads, things like that can be really helpful. So this is where I can see AI being leveraged within the writing and publishing industry. And this is how I am also approaching it within my own business and with the authors I work with. So I hope this has been helpful. I hope this also can lead to a more nuanced conversation as we use these tools and they continue to be integrated into our world moving forward. The bottom line is very much that I invite you to write your book. Write and edit your book the best way you can, and lean on the professionals for editing when that is right and available for you. But ultimately, I really think the human connection is going to remain at the center of all of this. And one of the most powerful ways to connect with one another is through storytelling. Our brains are literally wired for story, and that's how we connect. And I think we can all see through a lot of AI-generated content. And so use AI to help eliminate some of the tasks that we don't need to be spending a lot of time on, like research and admin and data analysis. And really, that does open up more space for us to spend time on our creativity. And so that's where I want to see us talking more about AI in that regard, because we do want to connect with each other through our stories so that we can expand our perspectives, generate more empathy, be entertained, and really feel seen and heard in other people's work. I know so many books really do impact us, and we really grow and expand and feel seen from the right stories. So if you are struggling in the writing process, please check out my courses that I have below. You can also buy my book that will help you take your idea all the way through to the publishing and create a very powerful story that is going to have impact on this world. So thank you so much for being here, and I will see you in the next video.